Maya Chen stared at the acceptance letter from Jefferson High, the words blurring together as exhaustion weighed down her 17-year-old shoulders. 3 months ago, she had single-handedly prevented the complete annihilation of Earth by redirecting a planet-killing asteroid using nothing but her grandfather's old radio equipment, some salvaged alien technology and pure human determination. The Galactic Council had been so impressed they'd offered her a full scholarship to their most prestigious academy among the stars. She'd turned them down. Now, sitting in her childhood bedroom with peeling wallpaper and a creaky ceiling fan, Maya wondered if she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. Outside her window, the world continued spinning, blissfully unaware that their planet existed only because a teenage girl had figured out how to hack alien defense systems during her summer vacation. The irony wasn't lost on her. She could calculate hyperspace trajectories in her head, had memorized the molecular structure of 17 different alien metals, and possessed enough technical knowledge to build a faster-than-light communicator from spare electronics. Yet the thought of walking into Jefferson High's cafeteria made her stomach churn with anxiety. Her phone buzzed. Another message from Commander Zix of the Galactic Defense Force, probably wondering why Earth's greatest hero was ignoring their calls. Maya deleted it without reading, just like she'd done with the previous 47 messages. What was she supposed to tell them? That saving the world was easier than making friends? During the asteroid crisis, everything had been clear. The equations made sense. The alien technology responded to logic and determination. There were no hidden meanings, no social hierarchies to navigate, no unspoken rules about where to sit or who to talk to. Just pure problem-solving and the satisfaction of watching impossible math become reality. High school promised to be infinitely more complex. Maya's mother knocked on her door, poking her head inside with that worried expression she'd worn ever since the government men in black suits had visited their house. They'd told her parents that Maya had assisted with a national security matter. But the cover story felt flimsy. How do you explain to suburban parents that their quiet, bookish daughter had become humanity's first unofficial ambassador to a galaxy full of advanced civilizations? "Honey, you need to get some sleep," her mother said softly. "Tomorrow's your first day and I want you to make a good impression." Maya almost laughed. If only her mother knew that representatives from 12 different star systems had already requested formal meetings with her. The Andromedan Trade Consortium had offered her a position as their human cultural liaison. The Rigel Military Academy wanted her to design their new defensive protocols. Even the notoriously xenophobic Centauri Empire had extended an invitation for diplomatic talks. But none of that mattered at Jefferson High, where her biggest challenge would be remembering to act like a normal teenager who hadn't seen the inside of alien starships or held conversations with beings made of pure energy. She'd practiced in the mirror, trying to perfect the art of small talk. "Oh, my summer? It was pretty quiet. Just hung out at home mostly." The lies came easier now, but they left a bitter taste in her mouth. How do you pretend to care about pop quizzes when you prevented interplanetary war? How do you stress about homework when you've rewritten the fundamental laws of physics? The truth was, Maya had saved the world because she'd had no choice. When the asteroid appeared on every telescope and government officials started talking about evacuation protocols for the wealthy, someone had to act. The aliens had been monitoring Earth for decades, waiting to see if humanity would prove themselves worthy of galactic citizenship or destroy themselves trying. Maya had given them their answer, but now she wasn't sure she could handle the responsibility that came with it. Her laptop chimed with an encrypted message from the Galactic Council. 3 new species wanted to establish trade relations with Earth, and they specifically requested her input on human cultural sensitivities. Meanwhile, her phone displayed 17 unread texts from classmates she barely knew, probably asking about homework assignments or weekend plans she'd never be invited to join. The contrast was jarring. In space, she was Maya Chen, the human who'd outsmarted a civilization 10,000 years older than Earth. At Jefferson High, she'd be Maya Chen, the weird girl who spent lunch in the library and never raised her hand in class even though she knew all the answers. She pulled out her notebook, the same one where she'd first sketched the equations that saved the world. Now she used it to practice signatures for yearbooks she'd probably never be asked to sign. Maya Chen. Maya C. Just Maya. Did heroes in hiding use their full names or try to blend in with initials? Tomorrow she'd walk through those school doors carrying the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. She'd sit through algebra classes while mentally calculating the orbital mechanics of distant planets. She'd listen to teachers explain basic chemistry while knowing exactly how to synthesize the exotic matter that powered faster-than-light engines. And somehow, she'd have to pretend that the hardest thing she'd ever done was a pop quiz on the Revolutionary War, not convincing an ancient artificial intelligence to trust a species that hadn't even mastered interstellar travel yet. Maya closed her laptop and tried to imagine what tomorrow would bring. Would anyone notice that she'd changed over the summer? Would they see through her carefully practiced normalcy to the person who'd stared down extinction and refused to blink? She doubted it. After all, teenagers were experts at hiding who they really were. The hallways of Jefferson High buzzed with the familiar chaos of the first day back to school. Maya clutched her schedule, trying to navigate through clusters of reuniting friends and hoping nobody would notice her hands shaking slightly. 3 months of communicating with alien species hadn't prepared her for the complex social ecosystem of American teenagers. She found her locker on the third try, fumbling with the combination while a group of seniors laughed loudly nearby. The sound made her flinch involuntarily, a reflex she'd developed during late-night communications with the Galactic Council, when any unexpected noise could mean her parents had discovered her secret activities. "Hey, you're new, right?" Maya looked up to find a girl with bright purple hair and paint-stained fingers smiling at her. The girl's confidence reminded Maya of Commander Zix, though significantly less intimidating than a 7-foot-tall alien warrior. "Actually, I went here freshman year," Maya replied carefully. "I was homeschooled for a while." Another lie to add to her growing collection. She couldn't exactly explain that she'd spent her sophomore year secretly attending advanced physics lectures at MIT, while her parents thought she was doing online courses. "I'm Sage," the girl said, adjusting the strap of a messenger bag covered in band patches Maya didn't recognize. "You look like you could use a friendly face." "This place can be pretty overwhelming," Maya almost laughed. Overwhelming didn't begin to describe her summer spent mediating between Earth's governments and a council of beings who could eliminate entire solar systems with a thought. But Sage's kindness felt genuine, something Maya hadn't experienced since before the asteroid crisis changed everything. "Maya," she introduced herself, surprised by how rusty her voice sounded saying her own name to another human her age. They walked to first period together, Sage chattering about teachers and classes while Maya tried to remember how to respond to normal conversation. When Sage mentioned struggling with physics homework, Maya had to bite her tongue to keep from offering to explain quantum mechanics in terms the girl would actually understand. AP Physics with Mr. Peterson turned out to be Maya's first real test. She sat in the back, hoping to remain invisible while her teacher launched into what he clearly considered an impressive introduction to advanced concepts. Maya found herself mentally correcting his explanations, remembering how alien physicists had laughed at humanity's primitive understanding of dimensional theory. "Now, can anyone tell me what would happen if we tried to accelerate an object to exactly the speed of light?" Mr. Peterson asked, scanning the room with the confidence of someone who believed he was asking an impossibly difficult question. Maya's hand started to rise automatically before she caught herself. She knew the answer, of course. She'd watched it happen in real time aboard a Centauri research vessel, but admitting that knowledge would raise questions she couldn't answer. "Time dilation effects would approach infinity," offered Jake Morrison, the class valedictorian, earning an approving nod from Mr. Peterson. Maya bit her lip, remembering how the Centauri had explained that human understanding of time dilation was laughably simplistic. Reality was far more complex and beautiful than anything in Earth's textbooks, but she sat silent, letting Jake bask in praise for an answer that barely scratched the surface of actual physics. The morning continued with similar frustrations. In calculus, Maya solved differential equations in her head, while pretending to struggle with basic integration. During English literature, she analyzed metaphors in Shakespeare while thinking about the poetry of the Andromedan language, where emotions were conveyed through subtle frequency modulations that made human language seem crude by comparison. Lunch presented its own challenges. Maya had forgotten how tribal high school cafeterias could be, with invisible boundaries marking territory as clearly as any galactic border. She found an empty table near the windows, pulling out a sandwich her mother had packed alongside a thermos of soup. "Mind if I sit?" Sage appeared with a tray of questionable cafeteria food and the same easy smile from that morning. "Please," Maya said, Genuinely relieved not to eat alone, Sage launched into stories about her summer art program, describing techniques and projects with infectious enthusiasm. Maya found herself relaxing for the first time all day, remembering what it felt like to have normal conversations about normal things. "What about you?" Sage asked eventually. "What did you do over the summer?" Maya's carefully rehearsed response died in her throat as her phone buzzed with an encrypted message. She glanced at the screen and felt her blood freeze. The Galactic Council was requesting an emergency consultation. 3 words that never meant anything good. Situation developing rapidly. I mostly stayed home," Maya managed, her mind already racing through possible scenarios. Had another species discovered Earth's location? Was there a diplomatic crisis she needed to resolve? Had someone leaked information about humanity's contact with the galactic community? "You okay?" Sage asked, noticing Maya's sudden pallor. "You look like you've seen a ghost." More like potentially seen the end of human civilization, Maya thought. But she forced a smile and nodded, slipping her phone back into her pocket. Whatever crisis the galaxy was facing would have to wait until after 5th period chemistry. The irony struck her again as the lunch period ended. Here she was, worried about being late to a class where she'd learn about molecular bonds she could manipulate in her sleep. While somewhere in space, representatives of advanced civilizations were probably debating humanity's fate around conference tables, the size of football fields. Maya gathered her things and followed Sage toward the chemistry wing, trying to act like a normal teenager whose biggest concern was remembering the periodic table. But her phone kept buzzing with increasing urgency, each vibration a reminder that her 2 worlds were about to collide in ways she wasn't prepared to handle. As they walked past a group of popular kids discussing weekend party plans, Maya caught herself calculating hyperspace jump coordinates to the nearest Galactic Council station. She could be there in 6 hours if she could access her hidden communicator without arousing suspicion. But first, she had to survive chemistry class and pray that whatever crisis was developing in the galaxy could wait until she figured out how to be 17 years old again. Maya barely made it through chemistry class, her leg bouncing anxiously under the lab table as her phone continued its relentless buzzing. Ms. Rodriguez droned on about ionic bonds while Maya's mind raced through increasingly dire possibilities for the galactic emergency. By the time the final bell rang, she'd convinced herself that either Earth was under imminent attack or she was about to be exposed as humanity's secret representative. She practically ran to the parking lot, waving goodbye to Sage with what she hoped looked like casual urgency, rather than barely controlled panic. Once safely in her mother's old Honda, Maya pulled out her phone and opened the encrypted messages that had been accumulating all day. The first few were standard diplomatic requests that could wait. The 4th made her hands shake. The 5th made her stomach drop completely. Commander Zix's message was brief and terrifying. Human Maya Chen, urgent consultation required. The Viridian Empire has issued formal challenge to humanity's galactic citizenship status. They demand proof of your species' worthiness within 72 hours, or Earth will be classified as unprotected territory. Council meeting in 6 hours. Your presence requested. Maya stared at her phone screen, reading the message 3 times before its full implications sank in. The Viridians were one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, notorious for their belief that only species proven in combat deserved recognition. If they succeeded in stripping Earth's protected status, any alien civilization could claim the planet without fear of galactic intervention. She'd spent the day worrying about pop quizzes and cafeteria politics, while her entire species' future hung in the balance. Maya drove home on autopilot, her mind already shifting into the analytical mode that had saved Earth once before. She needed access to her hidden communicator, but first she had to get past her parents without arousing suspicion. They'd been walking on eggshells around her ever since the government consultation 3 months ago, clearly sensing something had changed about their daughter but unable to identify what. "How was your first day, sweetie?" her mother asked as Maya burst through the front door. "Fine," Maya called back, already heading upstairs. "Lots of homework. I'll be in my room." She closed her bedroom door and immediately moved to her desk, sliding away a seemingly normal drawer to reveal the sophisticated alien communicator she'd built from salvaged technology. The device hummed to life with a soft blue glow that would have seemed magical to most humans, but was simply standard Galactic Council technology to Maya. Within seconds, she was connected to the emergency session. Holographic figures materialized around her desk representing dozens of alien species, their forms ranging from the humanoid Andromedans to the crystalline structures of the Rigel Collective. At the center of the gathering loomed the imposing figure of High Counselor Vextar, whose species resembled a cross between a mantis and a tree. Human Maya Chen. Vextar's synthesized voice filled her room. Your timing is fortuitous. The Viridian delegation has just concluded their formal challenge. Maya's eyes found the Viridian representative, a creature that looked like living armor fused with organic weaponry. General Korthax radiated the kind of confidence that came from personally conquering 17 star systems. The human species demonstrates promise, General Korthax declared, his voice like grinding metal. But promise alone does not qualify for galactic citizenship. They have faced only one crisis, solved by a single individual. This proves nothing about humanity as a whole. Maya felt anger flash through her, but she forced herself to remain calm. The Viridians respected strength, but they valued strategic thinking even more. General Korthax, what exactly would satisfy your requirements for proof? The armored alien turned toward her holographic image, and Maya could feel his attention like a physical weight. Your species must demonstrate that the asteroid incident was not an anomaly. One human solved one problem. Can all humans rise to meet impossible challenges? You're asking for a test, Maya said, understanding immediately where this was heading. Indeed. We propose a scenario that will require not just individual brilliance, but human cooperation, adaptability, and resilience, qualities necessary for any species worthy of galactic protection. High Counselor Vextar rustled his branch-like appendages in what Maya had learned was a sign of deep consideration. The Viridian proposal has merit, though we must ensure any test does not endanger Earth unnecessarily. Maya's mind was already racing ahead, analyzing possibilities. What kind of test are we talking about? General Korthax's form shifted, and suddenly Maya's room filled with a three-dimensional star map, showing a section of space she didn't recognize. The Helix Nebula contains a derelict space station from the ancient progenitor civilization. It has been drifting for millennia, its automated systems still functional but slowly failing. Recently, those systems have begun broadcasting a distress signal that threatens to attract the attention of the Devourer swarms. Maya suppressed a shiver. She'd heard whispers about the Devourers during her communications with the Council, an extragalactic threat that consumed entire star systems, turning planets into dead husks. No civilization had ever successfully fought them off. If the Devourers respond to that signal, General Korthax continued, they will establish a foothold in our galaxy. The only way to prevent this is to board the station and manually shut down its systems before the signal reaches Devourer space. And you want humans to do this? Maya said, understanding the full scope of what was being asked. Alone, the general confirmed. No galactic assistance beyond transportation to the station. Your species must prove they can handle challenges that threaten not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. High Counselor Vextar leaned forward. Maya Chen, we cannot order your species to accept this challenge. But if humanity refuses, the Viridian challenge stands. Earth loses its protected status within 72 hours. Maya stared at the star map, calculating distances, analyzing what little information she had about progenitor technology, and trying to estimate how long they had before the Devourers received the signal. The math was grim from every angle. How long do we have? She asked. The signal will reach Devourer space in approximately 14 Earth days, General Korthax replied. However, our intelligence suggests they could mobilize a scout fleet within 7 days of receiving it. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the weight of another impossible decision settling on her shoulders. Tomorrow she was supposed to turn in algebra homework and maybe ask Sage if she wanted to study together. Instead, she was being asked to convince her entire species to undertake a mission that sounded suspiciously like suicide. I need to consult with Earth's leadership, Maya said finally. Of course, High Counselor Vextar agreed. But remember, young human, time is not your ally in this matter. The connection ended, leaving Maya alone in her suddenly too quiet bedroom. Outside her window, she could see neighbors walking their dogs and kids playing in the street. Completely unaware that their peaceful existence hung in the balance once again, Maya pulled out her regular phone and stared at the contact information for Director Harrison, the government official, who'd been her liaison during the asteroid crisis. She'd been hoping never to use that number again, but as she dialed, Maya couldn't help wondering if there was a universe, somewhere where 17-year-old girls got to worry about normal things like dating and college applications instead of preventing galactic-scale disasters. The phone rang twice before a familiar voice answered. "Maya, please tell me this is a social call." "I'm afraid not, Director," Maya replied, looking once more at the star map still glowing faintly on her desk. "We need to talk, and you're going to want to sit down." Maya sat in a windowless conference room deep beneath the Pentagon, surrounded by some of the most powerful people on Earth. President Martinez looked like she hadn't slept in days, which was probably accurate given that Maya's phone call 3 hours ago had triggered the highest level of national security protocols. General Thompson kept checking his watch as if timing might somehow make the situation less catastrophic, while Director Harrison paced near a wall covered in classified star charts. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," President Martinez said, her voice carefully controlled. "An alien military faction is demanding that humanity prove our worthiness by infiltrating an ancient space station that's broadcasting a signal to galaxy-destroying monsters. And if we refuse, Earth loses all protection from hostile alien civilizations." That's the simplified version, Maya confirmed, but essentially accurate. Secretary of Defense Patricia Williams leaned forward, her expression grim. "How many people would we need to send on this suicide mission?" Maya had spent the last 2 hours running calculations and reviewing everything she knew about progenitor technology. Based on the station's size and the complexity of the systems, probably a team of 8 to 12 specialists. Engineers, physicists, computer programmers, maybe a few people with military training for security. And what are their chances of survival? General Thompson asked bluntly. Maya met his gaze directly. Unknown. Progenitor technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also ancient and potentially unstable. The biggest risk isn't the station itself, but time. If we take too long, the Devourers could receive the signal and mobilize their forces. President Martinez stood and walked to the wall display showing the Helix Nebula. "Director Harrison, what's our current relationship status with the Galactic Council? Could we request additional support?" "That's exactly what we can't do," Maya interjected. "This is specifically a test of human capabilities. Any assistance from galactic civilizations would invalidate the challenge and confirm Viridian claims that we're not ready for citizenship." The room fell silent except for the hum of air conditioning and the distant sound of classified documents being shredded. Somewhere in the building, Maya could see the weight of the decision pressing down on everyone present. They were being asked to gamble with human lives to protect humanity's future, and there were no good options. "Who would volunteer for something like this?" Secretary Williams asked quietly. "More people than you might think," Maya replied, remembering the emails and letters she'd received from scientists and engineers after news of the asteroid crisis had leaked to the scientific community. "There are researchers who've spent their entire careers dreaming about access to alien technology. The chance to study progenitor systems up close would be irresistible to some people." General Thompson pulled up personnel files on his tablet. "We've got teams at NASA, DARPA, and several national laboratories who've been briefed on the galactic situation. Dr. Sarah Chan at JPL has been leading a group studying the alien technology samples you provided. Dr. Marcus Webb at MIT has been working on theoretical applications of the physics principles you've shared." Maya felt a twist of guilt hearing those names. She'd tried to share as much knowledge as possible with Earth's scientific community, but the gap between human understanding and galactic technology was still enormous. The team they assembled would be walking into a situation completely beyond their experience. President Martinez returned to her seat, decision crystallizing in her expression. "Maya, I need you to be completely honest with me. Based on everything you know about alien technology and galactic politics, what are the real stakes here?" Maya took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "If we succeed, humanity gains permanent protection and eventual access to galactic civilization. That means faster-than-light travel, advanced medical technology, clean energy sources, and knowledge that could solve most of Earth's current problems within a generation. And if we fail? If we fail the mission but make a good effort, The Council might grant us protected status anyway. The Viridians respect courage even in defeat. Maya paused, considering the darker possibilities. But if we refuse the challenge entirely, Earth becomes unprotected territory. Any alien civilization could claim our planet, enslave our population, or strip mine our resources without galactic intervention. The implications hung in the air like a physical presence. Earth's choice was simple in its brutality. Risk a few lives for the chance at a galactic future, or risk the entire planet by appearing too weak to deserve protection. Director Harrison stopped pacing and faced the group. We need to consider public reaction as well. We can't keep the galactic situation secret much longer, especially if we're recruiting civilian scientists for an interstellar mission. Actually, Maya said, that might work in our favor. The Viridians want to see how humans respond to seemingly impossible challenges. Public knowledge of the situation could demonstrate the kind of species-wide determination they're looking for. President Martinez looked skeptical. You want us to tell the entire world that aliens are testing humanity's worthiness by sending us on a potentially suicidal space mission? Not exactly, Maya replied, her mind racing through possibilities. But we could frame it as humanity's first major contribution to galactic civilization. A volunteer mission to prevent a threat that could endanger multiple star systems. Frame it as heroism rather than desperation. General Thompson nodded slowly. That could work. Appeal to the same spirit that drove people to volunteer for dangerous missions during World War II or the early space program. The difference being that those missions didn't determine the fate of our entire species, Secretary Williams pointed out dryly. Maya's phone buzzed with another encrypted message from the Galactic Council. Commander Zix was requesting an update on Earth's decision, along with a reminder that the Viridian deadline was now less than 60 hours away. We need to make a decision soon, Maya said, showing them the message. The Council is getting nervous and the Viridians are already questioning whether our hesitation proves their point about human readiness. President Martinez stood again, her posture straightening into the bearing that had carried her through 3 major international crises. Draft a public address for tomorrow morning. We're going to tell the world about the galactic situation and call for volunteers for the mission. Ma'am, General Thompson interjected. Are you sure about full disclosure? The panic alone could destabilize governments worldwide. General, our species is being tested by civilizations that could destroy us without effort. I think it's time humanity knew what we're really facing. She turned to Maya. Can you provide technical specifications for what kind of people we need? Maya nodded, already mentally composing the requirements. I'll need to coordinate with the Galactic Council for transportation logistics, but yes, we'll need the best and brightest Earth has to offer. As the meeting concluded and officials began making secure phone calls to contacts around the world, Maya found herself wondering what Sage and her other classmates would think when they learned their new friend was humanity's liaison to an alien confederation. High school social dynamics seemed almost quaint compared to preventing galactic catastrophe, but Maya couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow's public revelation would change everything about her carefully constructed normal life. She looked at her watch and realized she was supposed to be home for dinner in 20 minutes. Somehow, she doubted her parents would accept saving humanity from cosmic horror as an excuse for being late. Maya sat in her family's living room at 7 in the morning, watching her parents' faces as President Martinez appeared on every news channel simultaneously. The emergency broadcast had interrupted regular programming, with the kind of urgent breaking news banner usually reserved for natural disasters or terrorist attacks. My fellow citizens of Earth, President Martinez began, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to reveal.
I am speaking to you today to share information that will
fundamentally change our understanding of humanity's place in the universe. Maya's mother gripped her coffee cup so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her father sat frozen in his recliner, remote control forgotten in his lap. Maya tried to appear as shocked as any normal teenager would be, but inside she felt only a mixture of relief and terror that the secret was finally out. 3 months ago, our planet faced extinction from a massive asteroid. What was not revealed at the time was that this crisis brought us into contact with a galactic community of advanced civilizations. Through the efforts of human ingenuity and determination, We not only saved our world but earned provisional membership in what is known as the Galactic Council." The president paused, letting that information sink in before continuing. "Today, humanity faces a new challenge. Our continued protection and membership in this galactic community depends on our willingness to help prevent a threat that could endanger not just Earth, but countless civilizations throughout our galaxy." Maya's phone began buzzing with messages from classmates, but she ignored them, focused on her parents' reactions. Her mother was shaking her head in disbelief, while her father kept looking between the television and Maya, as if trying to solve a puzzle. President Martinez outlined the mission in terms that made it sound noble rather than desperate. A volunteer expedition to an ancient space station, working with alien technology to prevent a cosmic catastrophe. She emphasized the honor of being chosen for such a task, the opportunity to prove humanity's worth to advanced civilizations. "We are calling for volunteers from among our brightest scientists, engineers, and technical specialists," the president continued. "This mission represents the first time humans will work directly with technology created by a civilization millions of years more advanced than our own. The knowledge gained from this expedition could benefit all humanity for generations to come." Maya watched her father's expression change from confusion to something approaching understanding. He'd always been proud of her academic achievements, often joking that she was too smart for her own good. Now he was staring at her with a look she'd never seen before. "Maya," her mother said slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why aren't you surprised by any of this?" Before Maya could answer, her phone rang. Director Harrison's number appeared on the screen, and Maya knew she couldn't postpone the conversation any longer. "I need to take this," she said, standing and walking toward the kitchen. "Maya Chen," Director Harrison's voice was tense with barely controlled stress. "We need you at the briefing center in 2 hours. The volunteer response has been overwhelming, and we need help evaluating candidates who understand the technology they'll be working with." Through the kitchen doorway, Maya could see her parents sitting in stunned silence, the television continuing to broadcast analysis from experts who were learning about alien contact in real time, just like everyone else. "Director, I think my parents are starting to figure things out," Maya said quietly. "That was always going to happen eventually. Are you ready to tell them the truth?" Maya looked at her parents again, seeing 15 years of love and protection and normal family dinners that were about to become impossible to maintain. "I don't think anyone's ready for that conversation. The world's changing fast, Maya. In about 4 hours, every major news outlet is going to be analyzing the president's speech and asking who the human was that saved Earth from the asteroid. Your anonymity was always temporary." As if summoned by his words, Maya's father appeared in the kitchen doorway. His engineer's mind had clearly been working through the implications of everything they'd just heard. "The government consultant they said you helped 3 months ago," he said, his voice carefully controlled. "That wasn't consulting, was it?" Maya looked at her father. This man who'd taught her to solve problems with logic and persistence, who'd encouraged her love of science even when it made her different from other kids. The same man who'd never once questioned why his teenage daughter suddenly needed government security clearances and encrypted communication devices. "No, Dad," she said simply. "It wasn't consulting." Her mother joined them in the kitchen, tears streaming down her face. "My baby saved the world?" Maya nodded, feeling the weight of 3 months of secrets finally lifting from her shoulders. "And now I'm going to help save the galaxy." The next few hours passed in a blur of explanations, tears, and phone calls from relatives who'd heard the president's speech and remembered Maya's mysterious summer activities. Her parents struggled to process the revelation that their 17-year-old daughter was not only humanity's first contact with alien civilizations, but also their current liaison to a galactic government. Maya had to leave for the briefing center before her parents had fully absorbed the situation, but she promised to answer all their questions when she returned. If she returned. The mission timeline was aggressive, and Maya suspected she might be among the volunteers heading to the progenitor station. The briefing center was chaos. Scientists from around the world had descended on the facility, many arriving on government jets that had been flying continuously since the president's announcement. Maya recognized some faces from academic conferences and research papers, brilliant minds who'd spent their careers pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. Dr. Sarah Chen from JPL grabbed Maya's arm as soon as she entered the main briefing room. Maya, thank God you're here. We've been trying to understand the technical specifications you provided, but there are gaps in our knowledge that we can't bridge. Maya looked around the room at dozens of the world's brightest scientists, all looking to her for answers about technology that shouldn't exist according to human physics. The irony wasn't lost on her that yesterday she'd been worried about fitting in at high school, and today the planet's leading experts were asking for her guidance. Before we start, Maya said, addressing the gathered crowd, I need everyone to understand that what we're attempting has never been done before. Progenitor technology operates on principles that we're only beginning to understand. This mission is genuinely dangerous. Dr. Marcus Webb from MIT stepped forward. Maya, speaking for everyone here, we're aware of the risks. But the opportunity to study technology from a civilization that predates most galactic species? The knowledge we could gain might advance human science by centuries. Maya looked around the room at faces filled with excitement and determination rather than fear. These were people who'd devoted their lives to pushing boundaries and solving impossible problems. In many ways, they reminded her of herself 3 months ago, facing down extinction with nothing but determination and human ingenuity. All right, Maya said, moving toward the holographic display system that had been set up in the center of the room. Let me show you what we're really dealing with. As the three-dimensional image of the progenitor station materialized above them, Maya began explaining the technical challenges they would face. But part of her mind wandered to her parents at home, probably still sitting in shock in their living room, trying to understand how their normal suburban life had become the center of humanity's greatest adventure. Tomorrow, she might be heading to space again. But tonight, she had to figure out how to be both Maya Chen, the galactic ambassador, and Maya Chen, the teenager whose parents just learned their daughter was the most important human alive. Maya stood on the observation deck of the Galactic Council transport ship, watching Earth shrink to a blue marble in the view screen. Beside her, the 8-person volunteer team was experiencing their first real glimpse of space travel. Their faces pressed against the transparent aluminum windows with expressions of wonder that reminded Maya of her own first journey beyond Earth's atmosphere. The team selection process had taken only 18 hours, but those had been the most intense 18 hours of Maya's life. Over 3,000 scientists had volunteered, forcing them to create tests that could evaluate not just technical knowledge, but adaptability and psychological resilience. Maya had insisted on being part of the HFY mission team despite presidential orders to remain safely on Earth as humanity's galactic liaison. I'm not sending other people to die while I sit in a conference room, she told President Martinez during their final secure communication. Besides, I'm the only human who's actually worked with progenitor-level technology before. Dr. Sarah Chen floated near the navigation console, trying to understand the faster-than-light propulsion system that defied everything she'd learned about physics. Maya, how do they achieve stable space-time distortion without creating paradoxes? They don't distort space-time, Maya replied, moving over to join the group clustered around the alien control systems. They fold it. Imagine the universe as a piece of paper, and instead of drawing a line from point A to point B, you fold the paper so the points touch. Dr. Marcus Webb looked up from the holographic displays he'd been studying, but the energy requirements for that kind of manipulation should be impossible to generate. Not if you tap directly into zero-point energy, Maya explained. Pulling up a simplified schematic on the nearest display, the progenitors figured out how to access the quantum vacuum itself as a power source. Team leader Commander Jessica Torres, on loan from NASA's most classified programs, interrupted their discussion. Save the physics lesson for later. We'll be at the station in 6 hours, and I want everyone familiar with the mission parameters. Maya looked around at her teammates, still struggling to believe this was really happening. Besides Dr. Chen and Dr. Webb, they had Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a quantum computing specialist from Tokyo, Dr. Amara Okafor, a xenoarchaeologist who'd been studying alien artifacts, Dr. James Morrison, an engineer who specialized in reverse engineering unknown technology, Dr. Lisa Park, a military cybersecurity expert, and Sergeant Mike Rodriguez, their security specialist and the only person on the team with actual combat experience. The diversity of their skills would be essential, but Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were still fundamentally unprepared for what they were about to face. Human science had advanced rapidly since first contact, but the gap between Earth technology and progenitor systems was still enormous. "Maya," Commander Torres said privately, pulling her aside from the group, "I need to ask you something directly. What aren't you telling us about this mission?" Maya had been dreading this conversation. Torres was too experienced not to notice the gaps in the information they'd been given, too smart not to realize that some details were being withheld. "The progenitors didn't just disappear," Maya said quietly, making sure the others couldn't overhear. "Something destroyed them. Their entire civilization, gone in what galactic archaeologists think was a matter of days. And whatever killed them, it came from the same direction as the devourer swarms." Torres's expression didn't change, but Maya saw her hand unconsciously move toward the weapon she wore even in space. "You think the devourers destroyed the progenitors?" "I think the progenitor station we're heading to might be the last remnant of a civilization that was trying to warn the galaxy about something even worse than we imagined," Maya replied. "The distress signal isn't just threatening to attract devourers. It might be a message about what the devourers really are." Before Torres could respond, the ship's communication system activated with a familiar harmonic tone that indicated an incoming message from the Galactic Council. Maya moved to the communication console, inputting her authorization codes while the team gathered around. Commander Zix's holographic image materialized, his expression even more grim than usual. "Human expedition team, we have received troubling intelligence about your destination. Long-range sensors have detected unusual energy signatures from the progenitor station. It appears the automated systems are not merely broadcasting a distress signal, but actively attempting to complete some kind of massive project." Dr. Chen leaned forward. "What kind of project?" "Unknown," Zix replied. "However, the energy patterns are consistent with weapon systems of unprecedented scale. It is possible the station is not merely calling for help, but preparing to defend itself against something." Maya felt ice form in her stomach. "Commander, are you saying the station might be armed?" "We are saying the station might be building something that requires power levels that could destabilize local space if not properly controlled." Zix paused, his alien features conveying genuine concern. "The Galactic Council is prepared to abort this mission if you believe the risks have become unacceptable." Maya looked around at her teammates, seeing determination mixed with fear in their faces. They'd known this was dangerous, but the possibility that they were flying toward an active weapons platform added a new dimension to the threat. "What's the alternative?" Dr. Webb asked. "If we abort the mission, Earth loses galactic protection, and the devourers potentially receive whatever signal the station is broadcasting." "The alternative," Maya said grimly, "is that we continue with the mission and hope we can shut down the systems before they complete whatever the progenitors started building." Sergeant Rodriguez spoke up for the first time since they'd left Earth. "Ma'am, in my experience, when ancient weapons platforms start powering up after millions of years, it's usually because they've detected the same threat they were originally built to fight." The implications of that statement settled over the team like a physical weight. Maya stared at the star map showing their destination, trying to calculate how much worse this situation could get. "Commander Zix," she said finally, "we're continuing with the mission, but I want continuous communication with the Council. If something goes wrong, make sure Earth knows what happened here." "Understood. Human Maya Chen, good fortune to you all." The connection ended, leaving the team alone with the knowledge that they were potentially flying toward a confrontation with technology designed by a civilization that had been destroyed by forces they couldn't even imagine. Maya looked out at the stars streaming past as they approached their destination, wondering if this was how heroes always felt, completely terrified but unable to turn back because too many people were counting on them. In a few hours, they would dock with a space station older than human civilization. Maya just hoped they would live long enough to send a report back to Earth about what they found there. Maya's hands shook as she interfaced with the progenitor control systems, the ancient alien technology responding to her touch with patterns of light that seemed almost alive. Around her, the massive central chamber of the station hummed with energy that made her teeth ache, while her teammates worked frantically at secondary control nodes trying to understand what they'd discovered. They'd been aboard the station for 6 hours, and what they'd found defied everything they thought they knew about the progenitors. This wasn't just an abandoned facility broadcasting a distress signal. It was a fully automated shipyard, and it had been building something for the past million years. Maya, you need to see this, Dr. Chen called from across the chamber, her voice tight with a mixture of excitement and terror. Maya carefully disengaged from the control interface and floated over to where Chen was studying a holographic display that showed the station's construction bays. What she saw made her blood freeze. The station had been building ships, thousands of them, each one designed with technology so advanced it made current galactic civilization look primitive by comparison. But these weren't exploration vessels or peaceful transports. Every design specification screamed of one purpose: war. They were preparing for the Devourers, Maya whispered, understanding flooding through her as she studied the weapon configurations and defensive systems. The progenitors knew what was coming. Commander Torres's voice crackled through their communication system from the station's security center. Maya, we've got bigger problems. I've accessed what looks like a historical database, and the timeline doesn't make sense. According to these records, the Devourer attack that destroyed the progenitors happened 3 days ago. That's impossible. Dr. Webb protested from his position at the main computer core. The progenitors vanished millions of years ago. Not in this dimension, Maya said, pieces of an impossible puzzle clicking into place. The station exists in folded spacetime. It's been experiencing temporal distortion, building this fleet for 1 million years from our perspective, but only 3 days from its own frame of reference. The implications hit everyone simultaneously. If the station's temporal distortion field was beginning to collapse, and if the progenitor automated systems believed the Devourer attack had just happened, then the fleet they'd been building was about to launch. We need to shut this down now, Maya said, racing back to the main control interface. If these ships deploy, they'll tear through local space looking for Devourers that aren't even here yet. But as Maya's hands touched the control surface, the station's central intelligence system finally acknowledged their presence. Holographic displays throughout the chamber activated, showing a figure that was clearly progenitor, but unlike any alien species Maya had encountered. The being was tall and graceful, with features that seemed to shift between organic and crystalline structures. Unknown life forms, the holographic progenitor said in perfectly translated English. You have entered a restricted military facility during wartime conditions. State your purpose and authorization. Maya took a deep breath, realizing she was about to attempt interspecies diplomacy with an artificial intelligence. That thought a war had started 3 days ago and had ended 1 million years in the past. We are representatives of the human species, operating under the authority of the Galactic Council, Maya said formally. We're here to prevent your distress signal from reaching Devourer space and to shut down systems that pose a threat to local civilization. The progenitor AI studied them for a moment that felt like hours. Humans. The Galactic Council has no record of this species. You are unknown to us. Your records are 1 million years out of date, Dr. Chen interjected. The galaxy has changed. New civilizations have evolved. The Devourers you're preparing to fight are currently located in extragalactic space. Impossible, the AI replied. We have fought the Devourers to a standstill in the Helix Nebula. Our fleet must deploy to press our advantage. Maya realized they were running out of time. The station's systems were powering up for what the AI believed was an immediate launch, and nothing they said would convince it that its temporal frame of reference was wrong. Computer, show us the current status of the Devourer fleet you've been fighting, Maya said, hoping to use the AI's own sensors to prove their point. The holographic displays shifted to show long-range scans of local space. Empty systems, peaceful trading routes, galactic civilization proceeding normally. No signs of the massive Devourer presence that would exist if an active war was taking place. The progenitor AI went silent for nearly 30 seconds, processing information that contradicted its core programming. Temporal distortion detected, it finally announced. Chronometer readings indicate significant time dilation effects. Recalibrating historical database. Maya held her breath as the AI sorted through millions of years of accumulated data, trying to reconcile its wartime programming with the evidence of its sensors. Analysis complete, the AI said, its voice somehow conveying a sense of profound sadness. The progenitor civilization has been extinct for 1.2 million years. The Devourer threat was successfully contained, but at the cost of both civilizations. This station has been operating under automated protocols, maintaining readiness for a war that ended long ago. Dr. Park looked up from the tactical systems she'd been studying. What about the fleet you've been building? The fleet was designed to be our final weapon against the Devourers, the AI explained. Ships capable of pursuing them beyond the galactic rim and ensuring they could never return. However, launching that fleet now would be catastrophic. The weapon systems would interpret any advanced civilization as a potential devourer threat. Maya understood the full scope of what they'd prevented. A fleet of million-year-old warships designed to hunt and destroy anything that might be a devourer, loose in current galactic space. It would have been a massacre. Can you shut down the fleet and stop the distress signal? Maya asked. Yes, the AI replied, but doing so will also shut down this station permanently. I am the last remnant of progenitor civilization. When these systems go dark, our voice will be silenced forever. Maya looked around at her teammates, seeing the weight of that decision in their faces. They had the power to prevent a galactic catastrophe, but only by erasing the final traces of an entire civilization. Is there another way? Commander Torres asked. Some way to preserve your knowledge while shutting down the dangerous systems. The AI was silent for a moment. Yes, but it would require one of you to accept a neural interface link with my core systems. Your brain would become a living repository for progenitor knowledge and technology. Maya stepped forward before anyone else could volunteer. I'll do it. Maya, no, Dr. Chen protested. We don't know what that kind of interface could do to human neurology. I'm already connected to galactic communication networks, Maya replied. My brain has been modified to handle alien technology interfaces. If anyone can survive this, it's me. The progenitor AI studied Maya with what seemed like curiosity. You are very young to carry such responsibility. Maya almost laughed. I've been thinking the same thing for months. The neural interface process took 3 hours, during which Maya experienced the compressed history of an entire civilization downloading into her consciousness. She saw the rise of the progenitors, their first contact with the Devourers, the desperate war that followed, and the final decision to sacrifice themselves to prevent an extragalactic invasion. When it was over, Maya stood in the chamber with tears streaming down her face, carrying the memories of billions of beings who had died to protect a galaxy they would never see again. It's done, she announced to her teammates. The fleet is powered down, the distress signal is stopped, and the station will shut down peacefully. 6 months later, Maya stood in front of Jefferson High School, watching her classmates head to their first period classes. The world had changed dramatically since the progenitor mission. Humanity had been granted full galactic citizenship. Earth had become a hub for interspecies research, and Maya had been appointed as the youngest ambassador in galactic history. She still carried the progenitor knowledge in her mind, a vast library of information that she was slowly sharing with human scientists. But today she was just trying to be a senior in high school who happened to know how to build faster-than-light engines. Maya, Sage called out, running up with her usual enthusiasm. Did you finish the calculus homework? I got stuck on problem 15. Maya smiled, pulling out her assignment. Problem 15 was about calculating orbital mechanics, something that seemed almost quaint after spending months working with technologies that could manipulate space-time itself. Actually, Maya said, I think I can help you with that. As they walked into school together, Maya reflected on how much her life had changed. She'd saved Earth from an asteroid, helped humanity join galactic civilization, and prevented a million-year-old war fleet from destroying half the galaxy. But somehow, helping a friend with calculus homework felt just as important. Being 17 was complicated enough without carrying the weight of galactic his.